Okay, here we go. Hey, friends, welcome to the Steel and Glory podcast, where we discuss the lively world of historical fencing and everything else related to the sword arts around the globe. So, today we have with us Mahaguru Nara of the Seni Sukma Kencana Swordsmanship School. Is that, I said that right?
Yep, you got that right.
Good. And he was born in 1976. He received his swordsmanship training from his father, who received it from his father before him and at an early age. His school teaches the art of the jenawi, a two-handed Malay sword. Nara has refined the art of the sword into what is now known as Seni Sukma Kencana, or the art of the Enlightened Soul. The school was officially registered in 2021, but has a prestigious 300-year-old heritage. Also, Nara practiced Silat, the traditional Malay martial art. He was a trainer of Seni Silat Cekak, is that right?
Yep.
Seni Silat Cekak Malaysia, and practices Seni Silat Berkeris, and that's basically, what is that? That's the I don't want to say the generic form, but that's the overarching form. Is that right?
Yeah, the Seni Silat Berkeris means silat that uses the keris.
Oh, that uses the Chris.
Aha.
Wonderful, and we might get into that in a little bit. So he also trained in traditional archery, which is a fascinating topic all by itself. And it's worth to note that Nara is also a practitioner of Fiore and Liechtenauer longsword styles, as well as iaido and kenjutsu. He and his wife has also just launched their first book on Malay swordsmanship, entitled The Manuscript of Seni Sukma Kencana, Part 1. In addition, Nara is a fan of Star Wars, and he has made his own Mandalorian armor and applies his knowledge in armor making into real world practical protective equipment for his swordsmanship school. He and his team has recently won the gold medal at the Penang International is that invention or convention? Invention, that's right. The Penang International Invention and Design Competition. Oh, Invention and Design Competition for the revolutionary work. There I go. On composite armor for martial arts. That's very good. Nara makes his own swords as well and has a small forge behind his home in Selangor, Malaysia, where he lives with his wife, son, mother, and 3 kitty cats. Nara, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me over.
Yes, it is my pleasure, and sincerely, it is a wonderful honor to have you on the show, and also to discuss your life's work, what you do. And I have to say right off the bat, I know we get along because not only did you mention Mandalorian armor, which I see the Mandalorian helmet, but right there you've got Noble Six's armor. Big Halo fan there, and I am a huge Halo guy. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So tell us about the armor really quick. I'm just dying to know about that.
Well, I I got into armor making quite some time ago. Actually, back in 2007. So, as you know, Halo Reach came out in about 2010.
Yeah.
So that was when that one was made. So it's practically 13 years old. And the other helmet there was made in 2009. So I haven't been making these in a long time. So these are actually my previous work.
So you made both of those.
Yep, I made both of those. They're made from
fantastic work.
fiberglass.
Okay.
They're made from fiberglass, and uh, they are both wearable, and I've been wearing them um, back then when I was cosplaying
Yeah.
on several occasions. So, and also it's interesting to note that back then in Malaysia, there was like if Boba Fett suddenly appeared, that would have been me. And if Noble Six appeared, that would also be me. Because back then, I don't know, maybe people either they weren't into these characters so much, or they were not really able to make or purchase these suits back then.
Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, and another note, the Halo armor you see here, it was also used during the midnight launch of Halo Reach.
Really?
Yep, there's a piece of history there.
That is fantastic. It looks great. I thought that it was I thought that that was maybe purchased from Microsoft or something, but you made it. It looks fantastic. Yeah.
Thank
So
you, thank you.
kudos to you, sir. Kudos to you. And Halo Reach is my favorite Halo game, and it still looks beautiful to this day. It's still a
Yep.
great game to play. I'm a little bit of a heretic to the Halo 3 people for saying that, but I really enjoyed the reticle bloom. I just said it. I said it. I enjoy the reticle bloom. Most Halo people don't like that, or at least I should say the loud Halo people don't like reticle bloom. Oh, fantastic. All right, so Nara, thank you for being a good sport and indulging that. So can we talk Salat for a little bit?
Sure thing.
Wonderful. So the first thing I was going to ask you is, as far as Salat goes, are there any popular television shows or perhaps movies where Salat is shown as a prominent martial art that you know of?
Okay. There are a few uh, movies, but they are predominantly Malay movies, which
Yeah.
showcase Silat. For example, we have some period pieces from the 50s and 60s.
Mm.
Um, More recently, we have an epic called Putri Gunung Ledang, which was in portrayed the Malacca Empire of the 1500s, and a more modern take. We have a couple of films. One is entitled Grad, which is a sort of a present day thing. It's kind of like I wouldn't say the setting is kind of like Karate Kid kind of thing, how silat is applied nowadays.
Yeah.
So there's also another one called Shahadan, and I'm just going on the fly here.
Oh,
There's a
sure.
few others as well. Uh, but to me, if you're really looking for authentic silat, in the 90s, there was this series called Mahaguru. It was a documentary of several silat styles. so, so if you're looking for authentic silat, I would say that would be the go-to show.
It's a
And
documentary called Mahaguru.
yep, it's a documentary called Mahaguru, and there's also another one called Inside Silat. And just to let you know, the second version or second season of Mahaguru is going to be shot end of the year. So that
Oh,
means hopefully we'll get a new series by next year.
okay.
So I'm just giving you guys a heads up. So if you're interested in knowing about authentic silat, wait for Mahaguru 2.0. I'm sure it's gonna be a blast.
So if I get a VPN and I can watch it on Netflix?
Sure. I'm not sure which channel is gonna come on yet, but I'm sure it'll be available internationally.
Yeah,
Uh,
wonderful.
and just a note, a side note on that. The same director of Mahaguru, Professor Jack Osman, will also be directing Mahaguru 2.0. So,
Ah, okay.
so Professor Jack Osman is a well-known Silat celebrity, and he
Gotcha.
teaches Silat worldwide. So maybe some of you on here have heard of his name or have seen his videos. And he's having a Silat summer camp coming in this July in Malaysia. So
Nice.
anybody interested, you're welcome to come over and join us. And I'll be there as well. So I'm one of the teachers who'll be teaching Seni Sukma Kencana during the summer camp in July
Gotcha.
this year.
Angel. All right. Well, you heard the man. So
So
start paddling.
yeah. Other than that, let's see. Any other shows? There were a few silat series back in the 90s. Pendekar, uh, Keris Hitam Bersepuk Emas, this weekly series that we used to have. And but if you're talking about English shows, a bit of silat was shown in John Wick 3.
Okay.
It was a scene towards the end. And they had these two Indonesian guys fighting Keanu Reeves.
Okay.
So there's a bit of silat over there if you want to see.
All right.
But that is more of the Indonesian style of silat. There's a distinct difference between Malaysian and Indonesian silat. So, but if you're
Yeah.
talking about silat in general, yeah, then John Wick has some silat in it.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, a lot of people this neck of the woods have seen that one. So very cool. I'm gonna have to review that and check it out.
Sure.
Awesome. Okay, so it's really interesting because we were discussing before we hit record on the show some things about martial arts in your neck of the globe, and we were discussing that well, there's something misunderstood about silat, and that is having to do with swords. So what don't we understand about martial arts from Malaysia or Silat? What don't we understand about that as far as swords? That's a leading question. Not a whole lot of people know that there's swords.
Well, when I began to expose Seni Sukma Kencana to excuse me, to the public a few years back, one of the popular questions that I was asked was, Malays actually have swords? So I was like, this is coming from a Malay. So actually, they asked me that, did Malays have swords? I mean, it was a shocker for me, but it also made me realize that how the sword has been neglected, so to say, and perhaps it has become a rare form of weapon art in the world of silat. So it was one of the things that drove me to propagate and to promote Seni Sukma Kencana as one of the silat schools that fight or that use the sword as its main weapon. So mostly when you mention silat, one of the most prominent weapons in silat is the keris. Also, as most of you have might have heard, the kerambit as well, and maybe the golok, the short machete. So when you say silat, basically is those types of weapons that are being mentioned, but not swords. So swords are rarely mentioned when in conjunction with silat. That is a big misconception. But I don't blame the public, because in my studies, swordsmanship was a rather exclusive art.
Hmm.
Just to quote Fiore in his book, he said that this art is not to be taught to, is only to be taught to kings and princes and dukes and barons and members of the court. So it was a similar thing that happened in my part of the world, in the Malay world. Yes. The sword was mainly taught to the gentry, the royalty, and not the general public. So maybe that's one of the reasons why some people asked, do Malays have swords? Because they might not realize it, but if you look at the royal, the regalia of the sultans and the kings, the Malay kings, there's bound to be a sword or two in there. So if there is a sword in the regalia, that means there had to be a system of sword fighting, right? Naturally.
Right.
So, but where is it now? What happened to it? So when I did my digging, other than Seni Sukma Kencana, there's very few, I would say less than 5 schools that actually teach swords, and maybe 1 or 2 that are teaching swordsmanship openly, including Sukma Kencana itself.
Gotcha.
The other styles that I see coming up today are mostly modern, and they are either adapted from another source, or did not have a significant lineage. I mean, they didn't come from 300 years or 400 years ago. They were more recent styles of, I wouldn't say swordsmanship, because the weapons that they use are slightly shorter. I mean, when you say swords, to me, in our school, a sword it needs to have a blade of at least what we call selengan, which is the arm's length, which is about, for a Malay, somewhere between 25 and 27 inches. So if the blade is anything shorter than that, we don't usually call it a sword. So most of the modern schools are using the shorter blades.
Mm-hmm.
So I've only found so far maybe another school that uses a long blade, um, other than Sukma Kencana. But so far, only Sukma Kencana is using two-handed sword,
Gotcha.
which is another unique thing about us.
Okay.
You have
It's
to
really
excuse me.
interesting.
I've got a sore throat actually, so sorry about
Yes.
that.
Well, we'll just have to make do. And again, thank you for coming on.
Sure,
It's really interesting how you mentioned the distinction for a sword, the minimum length. And when you said the length, I thought, yeah, that's about right. Anything shorter than that is a long dagger to a knife, and
Yeah.
it's really interesting, and I think it has to do instinctually with the grappling range. Right? Are
Mm-hmm.
you in grappling range? Or are you not in grappling range at the furthest extent? That's just a thought that I had in my mind. Lots of different people would have different opinions on that, but yeah, a gladius, that's kind of like the smaller end of that, where it's still a sword. But anything shorter than that, I wouldn't consider a sword. I'd call that a knife.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm alone in that.
It's it's similar to what we teach in our school. Anything shorter than that, either we call it a knife or a short sword,
Yeah.
or another term for it we call parang or machete.
Mm. Yeah. Okay.
But it also, the length has also got to do with the fighting style. You know, you can't really use a knife um, to do um, 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 to parry a long blade. I mean, of course you can, but you cannot use the same style that you use with a long blade with a knife, right?
Right. Yeah.
So, for example, let's say the Bodao, the death strike, you can't really apply that with a knife. You need a long sword for that.
Right.
So, in Sukma Kencana is the same. So there's some movements, some techniques that you cannot perform with a shorter blade. You still need that long blade to do certain things. So to me, that is the main difference between a knife, a machete, and a sword. So a sword needs to be long. It needs to have a long blade. If it doesn't have a long blade, then to me you can't really call it a sword, can you? So yeah, basically that's the main difference, main characteristic of it.
Yeah, and sorry to cut you off there. I was just thinking of that. So,
Sure.
but you were mentioning the different sword that you use in your dojo.
Mhm.
Right, and that's the jenawi,
Yes, the jenawi.
the jenawi. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you for the correction. And so, can you tell us about that?
Okay, the jenawi is basically is what we call a two-handed saber. The blade is more or less like a saber, but it's got a two-handed grip. So I have here with me an older example. This is about,
Oh, wow.
I would say, it's a late 18th, early 19th century example.
Oh, wow.
So it might look to some people like a katana, which uh, which has been an issue because some people claim that this was derived from the katana, but according to my sources, they existed either along the same time or this came first before the katana. I'm not saying that they're related, but I'm saying that they're two totally different swords.
Yeah, their origins are
So this is
independent.
the
Yeah.
one. Yep.
Their origins are independent. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is what the blade looks like.
Wow. Ooh,
Okay, so this
that's
has a
quite broad. That's a very broad blade.
um, mhm. It's broad
Ooh.
compared to a saber.
Yeah.
Sabers to have slightly, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is an older example.
And
Unfortunately, I did not have one from my lineage, but I was fortunate enough to find this one. which would have been similar to what my ancestors have used. So, but in our school, uh, we do not use that type of jenawi. I kind of not to say reinvent it, but improve the design. So what we have is this.
Ah, I like that handle.
So
Ooh.
this is called the jenawi Sukma. So Sukma coming from the name of the school.
Okay.
This is basically it has the same about the same
Oh, it's
measurement as the
beautiful.
one before.
Look at that.
So yeah, so this is my personal sword, by the way.
That is beautiful. I love the inscription on there. It's a beautiful work.
So this is what we use in our school,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the traditional jenawi that
Yeah.
I've shown you previously.
So, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
The features on your improved the Jenawi Sukma, it
Yeah.
the I don't know if you call that the hilt. I'm not sure what you call it. The very base of the
The
handle
pommel.
has this, the pommel has this beautiful curve,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, and I noticed there's no circle disc handguard.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but it's very beautiful, the way that it flows. Are those ornamental, or do they have a functional, um, anatomical?
Definitely
Do they have function to them? Yeah. Okay. Cool. I was hoping
Definitely
you would
functional.
explain that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's just have a look at the sword here. Okay. So basically there are 6 weapons in one. So what we teach our students is that, okay, the blade itself can be divided into 3 sections.
Hmm.
So the tip of the blade acts like a spear, more for thrusting and cutting. The middle part is more like a knife, which is used for cutting, slicing. And then the third part here is like a machete, because this is the strongest part of the blade that is sharp. So this part is more for, can be used for hacking, for example. So like how you use a machete. And then there is this part here, which on Western swords we would call the ricasso.
Yeah.
So it's basically it's blunt, right? So it acts like a shield, or you can parry with it, or you can also grip there for half swording. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth part is the back of the blade. So the back of the blade acts like a mace for you to use against an armored opponent, for example, or somebody who's got a shield. So there's no point striking with the edge of the blade. And last but not least is the pommel part here, which is like a knuckle duster.
Ah.
So I think it's similar to a longsword as well, where you hit with the pommel.
Yeah.
Only that we have a sharpened end here, so that is supposed to deliver more damage to the enemy or the opponent. So there we have it, the 6 parts of the jenawi sukma, and also the long handle here if held this way, also acts as a um, shall we say, a stick that you can block, you can counter and
Ah,
hit with.
yes.
So you can also use this for uh, for grappling, for um, what you call
Like
uh,
harness fashion.
yeah. Yes, yes. You can also use for that term again, joint manipulation. Yeah.
Ah, yes,
I was
yes.
looking for
Well,
the
yes.
joint manipulation.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's why we have a
Brilliant.
long. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a beautiful example, and yeah, I could see the definitely the usefulness of it. As far as the balance, because you have such a long ricasso on that, so I'm
Mm-hmm.
assuming that the balance is more beyond that part of it, or is it at the ricasso somewhere?
The balance is at the castle. It's
Okay,
about that.
look at that. Wow.
So it's like
So it's not very.
the
I mean, it's
balance is
not
about
that.
the, yeah. I mean, you would imagine that the balance would be somewhere here,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's actually there.
Yeah. So it's maybe just
So
slightly more front heavy than some swords, but not. I mean, it has authority in the chop, but it still is nimble enough
yeah.
in the tip for your thrust.
Yep. So it's like a. It feels like a long sword, actually.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
So the balance is about there.
That's beautiful. Now, I think we mentioned in the bio. I don't quite remember. That, oh, I think so. That you have a forge. Is this something you
Yeah.
forged, or did you have it made? You forged this.
Um, yep, I forged that.
Ah, see, you're like your own Jedi. You make your own swords. You make your own armor. You're the real deal. Yeah,
Yeah, you can say that.
yeah, yeah. That's very good. That is amazing. Um, yeah. Okay. So you've it's see. I'm still just so awestruck about what a beautiful piece is. I'm destroying my microphone here. um, So your experience came from being a little boy, is that right? And your
Mhm.
father trained you. Can
Yeah.
you tell us about that experience?
Okay. Well, it's actually there's nothing much to tell about because my training was more of, how shall we say, informal. So
Yeah,
it was not really a formal class where you come in and you have your etiquette and you have your syllabus and this and that. No, it was more of an informal thing. I mean, it was
yeah,
like you just while he was say sharpening his machete or something, he would just tell me something about it. Or when he sees me playing with a bamboo sword, a wooden sword, uh, he would correct me. He would point me, show me the right way of using it. It
yeah.
was it was more of that kind of thing.
Sure,
So it was a very informal thing, and I didn't really take much notice of it, and it was like a normal thing for me. And when the time came for me to open the school, and it got me thinking, how do I teach this to other people? So that is when this started coming about.
yes,
So I had to figure out how to arrange the. I had to come up with a system a syllabus, how to teach people,
Yeah.
how to make them understand what to do, how to hold the sword, what kind of um, guard poses do we have, and how do you attack, how do you parry? Because when I got it, when I learned, it was not that systematic. It was not given to me in like a proper, well arranged form. So it was more like sometimes it was just casual conversation.
Sure.
So I had to figure things out myself. And
Would you call it like a sort of a holistic type of learning environment?
yeah, it
Like
was more like that, you know.
almost by like osmosis over a long period of time.
Yes, you got that right.
Yeah.
It was not like, okay, it's Friday night, time for you to go into class, pick up your sword. It's not that kind of thing. It was
Well,
more of a casual and informal thing.
like barbecue. I
Yeah.
I don't you put the temperature very low and you cook it
Mhm.
slowly for a very long time. And it's some of the best eating
Mhm.
you've ever had. So maybe like this.
Mhm. Yeah, you can say that.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean that became an issue
Yeah.
in the beginning of the school actually, because as you know, many of the masters they had formal training. So in my case, I didn't have formal training in swordsmanship in Sukma Kencana, but I had formal training in other forms of silat and also other forms of swordsmanship. So what I did was I took my informal training, my barbecue, and looked at it from a different angle. I mean, how would it be done in iaido? How would it be done in kenjutsu, example, or how would it be done in Liechtenauer or Fiore? So I applied these methods into the teaching of Sukma Kencana. And also the time I spent with Silat Cekak, that was a very awakening a moment for me because they were very structured. It was so they had a proper syllabus and everything. So I learned how to structure my own syllabus from my experience with that school.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how Seni Sukma Kencana came to be actually.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And the syllabus, well, we'll get into that in a minute. Actually, let's get into it now. The syllabus that you're holding there is the instruction manual, obviously, for your dojo, for your school, and it's
Mhm.
something that you are making available to others who want to learn.
Yes, because to
And
me,
yeah, go ahead.
basically, there's no point in hiding it, because it is something that needs to be uh, propagated. It needs to be shown. So what we have in the book, even though it's technically an instruction manual, but you still need to come to class in order for you to understand what's in the book.
Right.
So just by reading alone will not get you what you need.
Yeah.
I mean, you might get something close to it, but you still need to come to class. That was the idea behind it.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's exactly right. I mean, because like you say, you can read the book and you could go through the motions, but the moment you put it under stress test, you need the person with the most experience to guide you in that method. Otherwise, it veers off into something else, which is okay, but then it's not
Yeah.
that method, it's something else.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. And so, yeah, it's quite important. Um, Now, it's called in when you translate it to English, Seni Sukma Kencana. It means the art of the enlightened soul. And so and we didn't rehearse this, we didn't get into this, but why might it be called that? I mean, is there a deeper meaning behind that?
Yeah, there's actually a deeper, more spiritual meaning behind it. So, Seni Sukma Kencana is not just it's not just about clashing swords. It's also about building a person. So it's about building yourself. It's about uh, manners. It's about etiquette. It's about becoming a better person. So you learn this while you learn the art of the sword. So it's kind of like a parallel path. So as you walk the path of the sword, you will also walk the spiritual path. And I'm not talking about any religion specifically. It's just for you to become a better person.
Yeah, that name actually caught my attention because I agree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. It's not a specific religion; it's the way of the sword, and
Yeah,
um, and I don't know in most, at least in Hema circles, they kind of ignore that part, or it to them it might seem superfluous, or they might not admit to other people this thing that they're going through. But for me, and hopefully for many people who practice this, there is this thing that happens with your self improvement, isn't there? And so
yeah,
anyway, I really liked what the name, right? The way of the enlightened soul, because it's almost impossible. It's very elusive, but it's there, and it's this path. Um, Anyway, that's just kind of my idea about it. How do you
well, I
feel
guess
about that?
it's it depends on your intention of getting into it initially. You know, some people do it for sport, some people do it for fun, some people are just curious, but others uh they tend to have this spark or this uh intention of wanting to know what's beyond, so for these people, um once you get into the way of the sword, it will take you there, but those who are doing it for sport, doing it for fun, as they say, um you reap what you sow. So if that's what you want, then that's what you get.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it just for fun, don't expect to get some enlightenment out of it. That, so to me, it the initial intention of why you picked up the sword, the first piece, that's very important. So if you just pick up the sword so you can bash somebody on the head, I guess that's all you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Because there's some groups that, they don't even have proper techniques. They just pick up the sword, a training sword, a shinai or whatever, and just whack each
Yeah.
other just for the fun of it. I mean,
And
it's up to them,
and
but
it's fun.
that's what you get.
Yeah.
It's fun, yeah, but
But no
that's all you
no
get.
enlightenment for you.
Yep. And some might be doing it for sport. So, as you know, in sports, there are specific rules that you have to follow, and you'll be bound by those rules, and your approach will be different from a combative point of view, for example. But if you truly walk the path of the sword, uh, you will, how can we say, you'll find that there's something else behind it. You know,
Yeah.
when you do it long and you study it diligently, I mean,
Yeah.
you'll find there's something there that needs to uh, surface. It's not just a matter of knocking the other guy out or winning a game. There's this spiritual fulfillment you get out of it.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. And I mean that in all seriousness.
Yeah, I mean, if you notice my postings, I would usually end with "This is the way," and it's not just a Star Wars reference. It's this actually. This is the way.
Yeah, I like it. It's cool. Yeah. So, all right. So you wrote this syllabus with the idea that you're going to preserve this lineage that you have received from your family line. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea is that it can connect a broader base of anybody who wants to come learn. Am I on the right track here? This is for everyone. It's not just for someone. Yeah.
It's not just for a certain group of people. I mean, it's not just for Malays, for example.
Right. It's not just for royalty anymore.
Nope. But the thing is, like we've discussed before, it is a path. It is a way. So if you're not willing to walk the path, and you might not get it. So that is why I don't really have a restriction to who can learn, who cannot learn. But if you're willing to walk the path, and God willing, you will get there. And in fact, we do have a couple of Americans right now learning Sukma Kencana.
Oh, wow.
They're in Texas.
Okay.
So one of them is coming to Malaysia this July.
In July.
The other one
that's fantastic.
The other one has been here last year. So
oh, wow.
Hopefully with this book available, they can start a class in wherever they're near San Antonio, so hopefully they can start there.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. That'd be cool. That would be cool. Well, San Antonio is a lot closer for me. I could visit them and we can get on the Zoom call and say hi. But one of these days, I need to make it to your hometown for sure, Nara. Most definitely. Welcome. Thank you. Okay, so as far as so you've written the syllabus. So what is your approach to teaching?
My approach to teaching. I was a teacher before. I taught science and biology to teenagers, middle school. So,
bless you.
What I do is we take the academic approach. So, when you want to learn to write, for example, of course, you need to learn how to write the letters in the first place, the alphabet. And then you learn how to spell a word. And then you learn how to arrange your words to become a sentence. And from that sentence, you learn to form a paragraph. And from the paragraph, and so on and so forth, to get a book. So that is the approach that we apply in Sukma Kencana. So we go through the basics first, how to hold the sword, the parts of the sword. What is a sword, basically? And then the basic grips, basic stances, the basic cuts. Why we teach the cuts? Because you need to cut your opponent in order for him to react. Because we say in Sukma Kencana, we are not a predominantly aggressive style. We do not attack, but we are more of a defensive style. But in order to get some people to attack, especially those defensive types, you need to provoke them, right? So in order to provoke them, you need to at least feint and attack. So that's why we teach the students how to attack and how to counter. So once you get the attack and counter part, the parry and repose thing, we go into forms that are most common, most that goes with the flow. So for example, an overhead strike. So once you counter that, what do you do after that? How can you counter? How can you react after you've done that? And we put some footwork into that as well. So you get a whole a flow of movement rather than just with the sword. You get the whole body to move.
Yeah.
So we teach that first. And once you're familiar with that, once you're competent with that, only then do we go to the next stage, which is sparring. We start with technical sparring. They say 10-25 sparring. And then we go to heavy sparring with the intent of to train the practitioner on how to react in a real situation.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
that's how we go about it.
Very interesting. Yeah, I love the methodology. Now, going back to the sword that you showed, it's quite interesting. So you're not typically, well, okay. So on the ricasso, you are parrying on the ricasso, or on the flat
Okay.
of the blade. Is that? Am I understanding that correctly?
Actually, we encourage the students to parry on the flat or
Yeah.
on the spine.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
the ricasso is very for emergencies.
I see. Okay. Yes.
So we don't really, we don't encourage them to parry on the ricasso because it's so close to the hand and we don't have a hand guard. And that's why we parry on the flat or on the
Right.
spine. Mhm.
Okay. Sure.
And
And the
also,
reason.
another unique feature, another unique feature of the style is that
Mm.
we use the reverse grip as well.
Oh, that is
So
quite
I know
interesting.
in Hima circles this is a big thing,
Yeah.
but we actually do this.
You do the reverse grip. That's so fascinating.
Yeah,
Okay, I gotta understand how this works.
that's why we don't have the hand guard. So if you have the
Okay,
guard there, it's gonna be impossible to do this, right?
right.
It's gonna be in the way. It's gonna be there, so you can't really hold it that way. You're gonna have to hold it to the side, which will make it less effective.
Yes. Okay.
So this uh, this grip is taught in the second part of the book, in second part of the syllabus.
Ah, so stay
This is
tuned.
for, yeah, stay tuned. I'll just give you a preview of it. So why do we do this? This is for extremely close conditions. So very close combat. So when you're doing this, actually we don't really attack with the blade anymore. It's more of the pommel strikes that we use.
Okay.
And this is when the ricasso is used to parry.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it's a bit of a
No, that's
extra thing there.
yeah, that's fascinating. I would have never thought to do it like this, but now that you've explained the parts and the pieces and seeing the features of your sword, I can see it. It makes sense. It makes sense because so where are your hands when you do this? They're up high as you've demonstrated, right? They're when you're holding it, you're holding it high enough to guard your head, and then like the upper openings. Is that
Okay. So when using the reverse grip, it's basically like that.
okay, okay,
So any counters, any parries would be done probably that way.
okay,
For example, the strike is coming down here. So I would parry this way and then strike the
and then strike.
pommel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would be doing that because, there's, I agree with the HEMA people. There's not much strength or, and you're limiting your range with this. But
Yeah.
we apply the reverse grip this way. So it's not
Mm-hmm.
a striking move like that. It's more of a pommel strike.
Yes.
And after you've done your pommel strike, then you can follow through with the blade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
So you
makes
strike
sense.
with the blade after the pommel strike. So that's basically why we do the reverse grip.
So okay, so with the reverse grip, you run the parry, and then
Mm-hmm,
your pommel is in line for the
mm-hmm,
strike, and then
mm-hmm.
one. But there's a follow through, is what you're saying. So you follow
Yes.
through. Now, when you get to the edge, is that like a push cut, or
Yep.
is it more like a quick?
It's more of a push cut. Actually, you
You
you you
yeah
slice into the target. Because
yeah
in Silat we deal with a lot of close range fighting.
sure.
So that is why we have this reverse grip.
No, I could see it.
So so in our style, we have long range where you hold it in the forward grip, and we have extremely short range where it's in the reverse grip. So which makes the jenawi sukma a versatile weapon.
That's quite unique. Thank you for showing me that. That was something. Yeah, I had never seen anything like that before, and it makes sense to me. You're not twirling, your back isn't turned, and you're facing them, and it's just boop boop boop. So I can. That was amazing. Just the way that you showed me that. That was cool. It's you kind of blew my mind, and I gotta just kind of change everything I thought about that. Now I'm gonna try that with my fetter. I'm thinking like,
Yeah,
okay,
you can
what?
give it a try.
Well, but because the cross guard gets in the way, like you say. But maybe if I hold it a certain way, maybe I could get a special fetter made where
Yeah,
the other part of the cross guard is smaller or something where I can.
yeah, shorter.
Anyway, yeah, you really did get me thinking about that. So that's quite something. That is quite something. Maybe I could do that with my saber.
Yeah, sure.
Well, I don't have enough room in here. I
Yeah,
will
that can
practice
be
that.
done.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. It's a
If
lot
you look
easier
at
to pull it
Malay
off.
swords,
Oh, I
if you look at
should. I
Malay swords,
definitely.
most of the traditional Malay swords do not have guards.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
some have really short cross guards, cross
Mm-hmm.
pieces, while there's another group that has the the knuckle guard or knuckle bow like your saber just now,
Mm-hmm.
which is a more recent development. So the oldest and more ancient types all do not have guards, which reflects on the fighting styles back then. So I guess yeah, the weapon reflects on how uh, how the people fought back then using these weapons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's anyway, that was beautiful. Just watching you go through that motion. I could definitely see the applications. Like if you have your sword out, especially if you're okay, so especially if you're a very like a noble and someone wants to come assassinate you, and but for some reason you already have your
Mhm.
sword out and maybe you're pressing through a crowd or something like that, or maybe you're
Yeah.
in a place where there's lots of trees and you're pressed in, or something like this where it's very close and you can't
Mhm.
maneuver like you would with the sword. Because so now the two-handed sword, I'm assuming that this is also a personal defense weapon as well as a battlefield weapon. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
uh, yeah, school. We have right now. I have designed uh, 10 different types of jenawi sukma.
Oh wow.
So the one I'm holding here is more of a personal weapon, more of a
Okay.
sidearm.
Yeah.
We have those with longer blades, so-called battlefield weapons,
Yeah.
and we also have very uh, long-bladed ones. I'm talking like 40-inch blades. So
Wow.
these are more like field swords.
Yeah.
So the field swords are used for anti-infantry and anti-cavalry warfare back
Yeah.
then. I mean, we have mention of these types of weapons in our in manuscripts in the old books that mention some mention of swordsmanship, because the jenawi is often mentioned in the old manuscripts. So it is almost always mentioned in the same sentence as the word king or royalty. So
Okay.
whenever you see jenawi, it has to be like this jenawi belong to this king or this queen. I mean,
Ah.
the ladies even use this. So that's another interesting point. Um, there was this queen in the manuscripts. She had a group of personal bodyguards, all women, and they were all armed with the jenawi. So
Oh.
that was quite an interesting discovery for me, which means that you know not only women use swords, but they use jenawi specifically,
Mm-hmm.
which means that these swords are not heavy, they are not cumbersome, they are light, nimble.
Yeah.
Excuse me. They are light and nimble weapons, which were easy enough to be handled by women. So
That
that
is
was an interesting discovery.
that is interesting. How do we know the typical weight range of the jenawi?
It's about somewhere between 700 to 900 grams, under 1 kilogram.
Okay, so they are quite light.
Yeah, the bigger examples like the field swords go up to uh, 1.2,
Hmm.
1.3 kilos.
Yeah,
So they are not really heavy weapons. They are quite light. And as you can
yeah,
see,
that's a that is quite nimble, especially for a
the
two-handed sword.
and as you can see, the balance is quite close to the handle hilt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's oof. That is wicked. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Wow.
I think the
Yeah,
closest thing that you have to now in Hima maybe is a mesa, perhaps.
yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's the closest thing you have, I think.
yeah, like maybe a two-handed lang
Or
messer or
maybe
something like that.
yeah, it's not mesa or Greek's
Yeah.
mesa, perhaps.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Um,
But I think a more closer example would be what they call a Swiss saber.
yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen some examples of
The
those.
long
Those are
sword
interesting.
with the complex guard. Yeah, I think that's a good example.
Yeah, that is quite interesting. And like you say, it's less like a saber. Excuse me, less like a longsword, more like like a saber. So like you're saying, Langmesser or a Swiss saber.
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
know, through the motion. So when you're doing a parry, you're not looking for a stat. Well, there's no such thing as a static bind, but you're not looking for the bind, are you? You're looking for kind of a rabat,
yeah, no.
keep it quick, keep it moving. Is that the idea?
hmm
Yeah,
Yep, that's the idea. We try not to get the bind
yeah. Because if you're using the
because
flat,
mhm.
yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Besides, our swords are relatively short when compared to a long sword, for example, or a saber or a rapier, perhaps. So we're we're not really looking for a bind because a bind will definitely kill you.
Yeah,
So what we do is, like you said, we need to go for the uh, parry repose kind of thing. You know, it's more quick, nimble move. That's why we parry with the flat or the spine rather than the edge. Or at least we try to, but as you know, things happen.
well, yeah, things happen. I mean, when two people are trying their hardest, really interesting things happen. So, so there's like para post a lot of like do they you have like a glissade kind of motions at all because you're pairing with the flat and do you just
Mhm.
kind of slice up the blade sort of action
Yeah,
sometimes? Yeah,
yeah. We do that. We have that as well.
yeah. You know, I have to say, I'm not able to pull it off. My favorite is the saber. This guy that hang on the wall. I do lots of different things, but this is my favorite.
Is
And
that
so you're talking to a saber guy.
is that 1796?
Almost. It's the what is it? It's the 1802.
1802. Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a cavetin, but it's patterned after that. It's as close as
Yeah.
I could get it to that. Because that's what I teach. That's what I practice is
Ah,
Napoleonic era British military
mm.
saber, and this one looked like the manual had it, and so I was like, that's the one I need. So, yeah. So yeah, you're talking to someone who really likes that idea, and this one, it's not supposed to have an edge on the it's not supposed to have a short edge. So I do find myself doing a lot of like on the spine rabats, and then come in to the cut. If I could pull off a glissade, I feel like $1,000,000. I feel like a total stud, just like and get in there. It doesn't happen that often, but every once in a while I can pull it off. And whenever I do that, I feel really cool about myself.
I know the feeling.
Yeah. So when you guys are sparring, what mediums do you use? Because I mean, I'm assuming you're not using sharps. You're using something else.
Yeah, we do have steel trainers, but most of the time we use the wooden training swords.
Yeah. Okay.
And coming up with synthetics
Mm-hmm.
now. So hopefully the synthetics will be ready soon.
Oh, that's nice.
Because they're more flexible compared to the wooden ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, whenever you use steel ones, you need armor. And in our weather, it is not really advisable
too hot
to suit up in full armor and
yeah.
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 I mean, we're talking about 30-ish degrees here.
Oof. Yeah, that's pretty warm. And I suppose it's also very humid, is it not?
Yes.
Yeah. 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 I really enjoy sparring with wood, but like you say, there's just some limitations to it. Yeah, the bend. Now, you brought up something interesting with the steel. Sometimes you do the sparring with a steel, but a safe sparring steel, of course, is flexible. And before you were mentioning, not on this podcast, but you had another different conversation. So just so the audience understands, there's different types of steel for different types of swords that have different types of uses. And the jenawi, as you're saying, is not a flexible sword.
It does not flex like a saber if that's what you mean.
Well, yes, it's not spring steel. It's not supposed to be.
It's more like a katana in comparison. So it flexes. It does flex, but not like a saber would. So the trainers are also similar. So they're not like a feather or a trading saber.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Bend,
Yeah. And it makes sense.
Be really careful in trusting.
Yeah, and like you say, well, of course, because safety is a big concern, but it makes sense because the style of the swords play, you can't have a sparring sword that flexes because it totally changes the dynamics of the way that your parries would work. Otherwise, it just doesn't work the same. You cannot do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. True.
So yeah, that's quite interesting.
So while I try to make the trainers as flexible as possible, but they don't flex as much as a saber would or as a feather would. Because like you said, it would change the dynamics of the sword fight. So and besides, we focus more on the cut and slicing rather than on the thrust.
Yeah.
And whenever we use the steel trainers, it is obligatory for the students to wear protection, armor, because like you said, safety is very important.
Yeah, and I was just going to ask you that too, because you're also an armorer, as we see behind you.
Yeah.
And Yeah, so of course it all makes sense. This is why you spend so much time crafting this skill, because with your martial art, your type of sword, you need the armor to practice as you're supposed to. Is that fair to say?
Definitely,
Yeah. Oh man, that
definitely.
sounds so
So,
fun.
because if you compare it to HEMA, most HEMA steel trainers are flexible,
Yeah.
and you can get away with padded gambeson and stuff. But when you do Sukma Kencana, our swords are stiffer, and they are not as flexible. So you need something sturdier. That means we need, like it or not, you need plate armor. So what we did was, like I said before, the one the composite armor. We
Mm.
had a gambeson type of jacket, vest, and we had these composite plates underneath. So it's kind of like a brigandine.
Okay. Yeah.
um, so that's what we use. So we have padding and we have plate as well.
We're
So
gonna have to talk after this is over because
it's
I'm very curious as to how you've designed this.
yeah, sure thing, sure thing.
And yeah, and I'm sorry, I also interrupted you. So you were saying that you've got like your padded textile material, and then you have
Hmm.
like a coat of plates. But what are the plates made
Hmm.
out of?
Well, several materials. We've experimented with kydex.
Okay, you didn't like
The
that
sheet.
though.
Yeah, I didn't really know. So we did this composite material out of Kevlar and bamboo, actually.
Really?
So yeah, that's what got us the gold medal. So it's kind of a green technology kind of thing. So we're using bamboo
Sure.
as well. So our next projects will be based on this material.
Wow. Wow, this is so cool. So it's the bamboo. Can you explain it a little bit, or is this proprietary
What is basically it's
or a
just
trade secret?
layers of. Well, I can tell you a bit about it.
Okay. Okay.
It's just alternating layers of material. So we use this Kevlar and bamboo, and then Kevlar again, and then the whole thing is dipped in resin. It's basically how you work fiberglass or carbon fiber, but with a
Mm-hmm.
different material.
Yeah, that is so fascinating.
So
So yeah.
it's kind of similar to that suit that
Okay.
only that that one's pure fiberglass. So for the practical suit, we didn't use fiberglass. We used Kevlar and bamboo.
And bamboo.
And we tested that against sharps. We tested that against sharp weapons, and apparently the only thing that got through was this axe that had a sharp pick at the end, kind of like a halberd.
Yeah.
So that was the only thing that got through. I
Oh
shot it
wow.
with arrows. I uh, hacked it with a machete. I used the jenawi. Nothing got through except
Wow.
that axe.
Wow.
So it
That's
was
amazing.
interesting.
I should say that's that is interesting. Yeah. Yeah. There's a little bit of a lag, so pardon me. I don't mean to be talking over you. That is incredible. That's cool. Oh man, yeah. You'll have to show me some pictures or something later on, or I'll lurk on your Facebook page or something like that. Because yeah, that's phenomenal. That's fantastic. So you're not making plates of this, or you are making plates of this material?
Yeah, there are plates actually underneath the gabardine.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's very flexible.
So yeah, that's the idea.
Yeah. How heavy is this material?
It's relatively light.
Yeah.
Compared to steel, it's like about half the weight of steel.
Mhm. Yeah.
So if a normal, let's say, chainmail is around 10 or 12 kilos. So if you use this material together with the padding, you'll get about, I'd say, 5 or 6
Mm-hmm.
kilos.
Yeah.
So it's about half the weight of steel.
That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is cool. So the Kevlar, well, obviously, I mean, if the resin goes through the Kevlar, but the bamboo, does it give it a little bit of well, rigidity, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but it almost seems like the quality of the bamboo gives it because carbon fiber, it's very fragile, it's very tough, but you on impact it sort of shatters.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing the bamboo is something that resists this kind of force.
So the bamboo is holding the whole thing together.
Yeah. Fascinating. This is so
and
fascinating.
The Kevlar helps it to the Kevlar helps it to not shatter. So because the bamboo is not in a solid piece, it's like pieces of bamboo.
Okay.
The Kevlar holds it together.
Like little slices?
Yeah, more or less.
Like strips, little strips that are
At least
they're like flat pieces.
Slices of bamboo. And yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the Kevlar holds it together, and the bamboo kind of absorbs the part of the shock.
Okay. Yeah,
So
that's fantastic.
That's how it works, basically.
I have a.
I mean, the technology is not really new. The technology is not really that new because we have records of Japanese armor made of bamboo.
Yeah.
So we're just using modern materials basically, and the modern manufacturing techniques.
Sure.
So
yeah, why not? No, that's the genius. Yeah, and bamboo is tough. I have it's a light so when I teach my youth class, we use soft well, it's they're called sports swords. They're like foam swords, but they're kind of heavy. It's I'm not sure if you know what steel fighting is, or buhurt. Maybe you've heard of this. But they're okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Their training gear, their soft training gear is padded. But what I use on my body is a Muay Thai vest, and it has bamboo inside. And it's very light. It's bamboo, but I think it has some padding with the bamboo.
Mm-hmm.
But it works great. It's very flexible. It's very breathable. I like it a lot, and it wasn't very expensive, so I really liked that part too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I tried the Taekwondo ones that it's just pure foam, but it was too much because the swords are already padded, and it was too hot, and it wasn't very flexible. And so this one, it was the bamboo strips surrounded by like just a light foam. And I've had it for maybe 4 years now. It works great.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm a fan of bamboo armor. Yeah. Yeah, no, it works great. So which gets me very, very curious about what you've come up with. These ceramic tiles with the bamboo. Um, anyway, I'm just kind of a nerd about materials, as you found out just now. That's kind of, I work with materials in my day job, and so it's kind of interesting. So I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
sure.
yeah. So audience, I'm sorry if I'm boring you about that. I just got to know about that. Okay. All right. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time because we've already been on for an hour and 25 minutes here. But where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Well, in 10 years, um, probably still doing the same thing, but with a bigger school, properly organized school. Um, Hopefully, um, with a faculty in a university, so
Oh wow, yeah,
so that we can actually preserve the art and have it studied academically properly.
yeah,
So we can preserve it and have more people come and learn and study it, not just the fighting aspects of it, but also the the technological aspects, the spiritual aspects, the
yeah.
um, biomechanics of it, and so on and so forth. So yeah, in 10 years, that's where I see myself. Maybe like as a reference point for all of this stuff. I wouldn't say a professor, but that would be nice.
Sure, why not? Yeah, why not? Well, yes, that's wonderful. Do you have any final thoughts? Advice for
Well,
students?
I would say, yeah, okay. Uh, in general, okay. If you want to learn something, first do a background study of this new subject or this new art that you wish to learn. Get to know the prominent figures in it. Get to know the history of it before you enlist in that class, and try to find out as much as you can about it and see if it resonates with your spirit, with your soul. If it is something that you want to do 10 years down the line, it's not just for something that you would attend maybe 2 or 3 classes and then call it quits. It's a waste of time if you do so. So if you want to get involved in a martial art, study it, learn about it, know about the background, and meet up with the teachers if you can, and ask them what you want to know. And then decide if this is what you want, and then once you're in it, uh, go all the way. I mean, run the full course. Don't stop until at least you achieve the level of, say, instructor or coach. Not to say to become a master of it, but at least, you're at that level where you know what you're doing and you can talk to others or teach others about it. You can share with others about what you're doing. Don't just do it for fun. Don't just do it for sport. And whatever you want to do, study it, and have a basic knowledge of what you're doing. So not just going about it at random, because one, it's a waste of time, and two, you're gonna hurt yourself. So my advice is, if you're going to martial arts, learn it properly and from a certified uh, school or master or instructor. So I guess that's it. And on behalf of Seni Sukma Kencana, I welcome you all to come and join us. I mean, we are based in Malaysia, so if you have the time to come over, do come over. We will have our English version of the book soon, so you can get those and go through that first. And if you have the chance, get verified and get certified to become a proper Malay swordsman. And thank you, Nate, so much for this chance, this opportunity. It's been an honor. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun talking to you. And it's nice to know that we are on the same page on a variety of things.
Yeah, come to find out, it was very fun. It was very fun, my friend. So, Uncle Nara, thank you so much. The feeling is mutual. I appreciate you coming on and taking the time and teaching us a couple aspects of Seni Sukma Kencana.
Yeah.
Yes. And for those of you who don't know the title here, the Paku Nara means uncle, so Uncle Nara. That's what that is. And oh yes, so we will have the link to your school in the show notes if anybody's interested, and also for the syllabus that is important. Right now it is in Malay, but soon it will be in English as well, and so stay tuned for that. You could also follow Nara on his Facebook, and so we'll make that available. Do you mind if we make that available at the the show notes? Okay, cool. And so we'll do that as well. So everybody who has made it this far, thank you for listening. We wouldn't be here without you. So we do appreciate everything that you do, the time that you bring in. And the whole goal of this podcast is to bring the sword community together from all parts of the globe. And this has been a real treat. And with that, I'm signing off. And everybody remember to slay your demons. And we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody.